And a very happy Wednesday to you at 12:08 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, on a podcast called State of Gold, former San Francisco mayor and the Ayatollah of the Assembly, Willie Brown, doesn't like Kamala Harris's chances to run for governor.
She may not want to run for governor of the state of California. That may not be where she should be going. I think it's going to be difficult for her to win that job.
Oh, my.
Well, I think he's right. Even though she just spent over $1 billion building up her name ID, she was such a horrible candidate that her negatives have to be through the roof. And it's not just people who recognize that she was an awful candidate and didn't like what she had to say. There are Democrats who regard her performance as being so awful that she gave the world 4 more years of Donald Trump, and they harbor a certain amount of resentment towards her, too.
So it's not just going to be an easy ride to the governor's mansion if she decides that she's actually running.
Well, in theory, she was interested in federal issues. In theory, she was interested in the Supreme Court. She was interested in abortion. She was interested in what was going on internationally in places like Ukraine. She was in charge of the border and the quote-unquote root causes of immigration. All of those subjects are federal. When have you ever heard her talk about the bullet train? When have you ever heard her talk about the insurance crisis or what's going on right now with the California budget? When she was Attorney General, she did not officially take a position on Prop 57, even though we all know she supported it. And when Prop 36 was on the ballot last time around, and she was voting here in the state of California, she was asked, how did you vote on Prop 36? And she said, I'll tell you later, and she never did.
It's usually her MO.
We are doing it.
But that's a subject that she allegedly cares about. That is one of the only California subjects that she claims to care about. And she still wouldn't tell us how she voted.
Let's go ahead and listen to the longer version of this clip. This, again, is Willie Brown being interviewed by a podcast called State of Gold. And he was asked about his advice to Kamala if she were to run.
Given everything that's come out, all the revelations around the Biden administration, her part in it, Jake Tapper's book.
Yeah, none of that makes her look good.
No, it doesn't.
Jake Tapper's book.
Did you finish that one yet?
No, I still have it.
What advice would you give Kamala Harris right now?
Well, I've gotten in real trouble giving Kamala Harris advice.
He talked about that on this show.
Oh, the Willie laugh. You need it.
It's fantastic.
And I said that, frankly.
Oh, so close, Willie.
Imagine if you collected a Willie Brown, quite frankly.
He would never do it. He's too classy.
Kind of with a smile, because she is bold enough, tough enough, and well-informed enough. If she would utilize that talent, she would not need a person like me giving her advice, period. She would be doing what needs to be done, as Jerry Brown did when he came back for his second 8 years. Jerry Brown really did do a good job.
I dispute that.
Says who?
And it was almost like a dictatorship.
Well, that was true.
Yeah, on that we agree.
By the way, when Willie Brown says what he liked about Jerry Brown, this is what he liked about it.
And it was almost like a dictatorship.
Because that's how he ran the assembly.
Well, when he ran the assembly, the legislature actually had a say in things. Now, with term limits and these buffoons who are running the state senate and the state assembly, they are playing for the mud hens when the governor's playing for the Yankees.
There has been some hogwash.
Kamala Harris, like Mr. Newsom, needs to understand early on that that's going to be a cornerstone if you are to be a successful executive head.
Wait, is he arguing Gavin didn't run us like a dictator?
Where was he during COVID?
In the state of California, just as you would be if you were in a private sector person. For an example, I believe it's the widow of Steve Jobs and a few of her colleagues.
Lorraine, yes.
Lorraine is talking about up in Solano County, literally creating a whole new city.
There's a subject Kamala knows nothing about.
I bet you she hasn't even heard about it.
That's a challenge that no one else is paying attention to.
Yeah, the tech bros want to buy a whole bunch of farmland in Solano County and create a tech utopia.
Yeah, what does that tell you about their opinion of how the state is currently being run?
Kamala Harris does something similar in her quest to become governor. She may get there. I gave her the advice that when she was under consideration, one of the final 5.
And one of those 5 was Karen Bass.
How did she make it to the list?
To be the person that President Biden...
Well, when your only qualification is prominent black woman, I guess Biden only had so many choices for people he was looking at in Congress.
Well, Amy Klobuchar took her name off the list after George Floyd. And then you also had Gretchen Whitmer, who was the governor of Michigan, who apparently many people wanted, but she knew after George Floyd that she would take a lot of slings and arrows if she took the job away from Kamala or Karen Bass.
Could have been Grampy Joe and Big Gretch.
To be the person that President Biden, then candidate Biden, would take as his running mate. I urged her.
By the way, this guy's 10 years older than Biden.
He sounds so much more with it than Joe Biden on his best day.
Said if he comes to you for VP, tell him you want to be the Attorney General. Because from the Attorney Generalship, you may land where you, I suspect, are most talented, and that's the Supreme Court.
Oh, boy.
Well, that is an appointed position where she doesn't have to get elected to anything, which means she doesn't have to be a candidate sitting down for interviews, giving incoherent answers and laughing for no reason.
And you could easily end up being Chief Justice of the Supreme Court with your real talent. I think she stopped speaking to me as a result of
that. Mr. Mayor, let me stop you there. That's very interesting.
Was the final straw with Willie Brown and Kamala?
Okay, here is something that you can learn from this that is something that applies to just about every relationship you will have. People do not mind being used, they mind being discarded. We use each other all the time. If I am traveling to a city that I know nothing about and you know everything about, and I ask you for a restaurant recommendation, I am using you for your knowledge. You don't mind it, but I am using you. If you then were to come to my city and ask me for a restaurant recommendation and I don't return your phone call, you have been discarded. And there's a difference between being used and being discarded. What she did to him for a long time was use him. He didn't mind. It was a relationship that benefited both of them. What he minded was being discarded. And that's what she did to him, and that's part of the reason that people don't like her.
Mr. Mayor, let me stop you there. That's very interesting. So your observation, knowing her over a period of time, is that her talent was to stay in her lane as an attorney general, potentially of the United States, not as an executive or on the executive track.
Correct.
Interesting. Now,
and particularly where you are second tier.
Mm-hmm.
No vice president looks good.
No, because the job involves no actual duties. It's like being lieutenant governor in California. You wake up in the morning, you put on your slippers, you throw on your bathrobe, You walk out to the end of your driveway, you pick up the newspaper, and if the headline is anything other than the president is dead, go back to bed.
Well, and specifically, you look at the early days of the Biden years, anything that was going on where Biden thought this doesn't make me look good, I'm going to make that Kamala's problem, border czar.
Well, and then that TV show starring Elaine from Seinfeld, Veep. She was basically creating new content for Elaine every time she spoke publicly.
Yes, the vice presidential job is a good one. You don't pass that up if you're a politician, usually, because it could lead to your next step if that's where you're really headed.
Hasn't actually happened since George H.W. Bush.
It can happen, but being a vice president, you have to eat some, well, if you're a viewer of Vegas, Matt, Sandoz.
And that's where your talent seems to fit. I do think people running for public office really ought to fit eventually where they are trying to land. And I really do hope, frankly, that she
So close.
That's the second time.
that she comes to that reality. She may not want to run for governor of the state of California. That may not be where she should be going.
Because she has zero interest in what's going on in the state?
The Senate was the perfect place for her. She could give speeches. She had a safe seat. She would just vote the party line. The press would write nice things about her. She basically was the Senate's version of Karen Bass. But you put her in a situation where the spotlight is on her, and you realize that the emperor has no clothes.
I think it's going to be difficult for her to win that job. I think that the quality of some of the other people, and you have the lieutenant governor thinking about it.
Well, she has money, but what else do we know about Elaine?
She has a lot of money, and that's all you need to know.
Hey, Elaine, you want to buy the 6 o'clock hour?
For Californians.
Well, she might want to buy noon to 3.
The president pro tem of the Senate out of San Diego at one time.
Yeah, she has no chance.
No, one of the Tonys.
Nobody remembers who Tony Atkins is.
Thinking about it, a woman who was controller, was thinking about it, Betty Yee. There is just the current superintendent of schools.
Yeah, the other Tony. No, thank you.
Don't forget Tony V, the third one.
Tony.
For the state of California, thinking about it. There's just so many really talented people thinking about that job. And then there is one.
He didn't give Katie Porter a shout out.
No, he didn't. My guess is, like everyone else in the state, he hates her too.
And then there is one who ran against the woman who's the mayor of Los Angeles.
Rick Caruso.
Rick Caruso. Let me tell you, I think everybody's ignoring him at the moment, politically.
Oh, really?
You don't say.
And I think the press may be ignoring him. That is really a talented guy.
He is a talented guy.
He's a great executive potential. And I think in this day and age, when the public is looking for somebody that represents not yesterday, for somebody who is fresh and relatively new, for the 39 million people, he is exactly that.
That's practically an endorsement.
Well, if it's not an endorsement, it's as good as one.
Willie Brown, the former mayor of San Francisco and the former Speaker of the Assembly, looks at all the crop of potential candidates for governor, and he likes Rick Caruso.
And he gave the reasons. He did the homework. What does that say about the other candidates, specifically Kamala Harris? He knows she would be a disaster as governor. He thinks she could win, but it wouldn't be as easy as she assumes it would be. And he thinks she would be a disaster as governor because she doesn't have the skill set. Who in this state knows her better than him? Who in this state is familiar with how California governor works better than him? For that guy to make that statement, that tells you everything you need to know about her. And when you think about the complex problems that face the state right now, you don't need another absentee landlord. You need someone who understands how to fix it. And that's not Gavin, and that's not her. And one of the cardinals in the Democratic Party just told you that. I think Willie's right. I think in this field of candidates, despite the fact that she just spent $1 billion promoting herself, despite the fact that everyone knows who she is, despite the fact that she's been elected statewide several times before, I think of all of the candidates, she is the one most uniquely qualified to lose to a Republican. If it's going to happen, if lightning is going to strike, if a Republican is ever going to be elected in this state again, you basically don't need a Republican that can win the race. You need a Democrat who can lose. And I think she's that person. What say you at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222? Is Kamala Harris so bad that she could figure out how to lose the governorship to a Republican? I think she just might be. What say you at 800-222-5222? If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, I know a lot of people have a lot of car trips coming up where they're going to be going on vacation and they're going to avoid the airports because they've seen all the stories about the canceled flights and delayed flights, and the car trip is the way to go. Well, if you're going to be driving through a rural area or an area that doesn't have your favorite radio station, don't worry, you can listen to us.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You could also do a Google on the YouTube because they're all right there. Like and share with your friends. You can get the KABC app, the KSFO app. So many ways to listen to this show. And you better download a bunch of our episodes. Otherwise, you're stuck with Pammy Price's podcast.
She called me a crime boss.
Right now, we're taking your calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Willie Brown, the former mayor of San Francisco and mentor to Kamala Harris, said she may not want to run for governor of California after all because that's not where her skill set is and she could lose. Do you agree? At 800-222-5222. Let's begin with Robert in San Jose. Robert, hello.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, she's been way too radical on abortion and smash and grab. She's pretty much the matriarch of that. It's not a good look. I mean, she's practically a social justice Democrat. We need somebody with some builder skills like Rick Caruso. The state needs so much repair after what the Democrats have let it decay into. He's fully competent, and it might even reinvent the Democratic Party if you can get the guys who are better, the Licardos, the Kumars, and the other people to actually unite and invent the brand. Because, I mean, out here it's just whack job city, and we're tired of it.
What do you think Republican voters will do in that circumstance where you have Rick Caruso, who was a career Republican, who's now a Democrat? No one really believes that he's actually a Democrat, but he says he is one, and he gives money to a lot of Democrats. There are other Republicans in the race, including the Riverside Sheriff, Chad Bianco, and Steve Hilton, formerly of Fox News. Other Republicans could enter the race at some point in the future, including Grant Cardone, who is close to President Trump. If given that option, do you think Republican voters would vote with someone with an R next to their name or Rick Caruso, even though he will be listed on the ballot as a Democrat?
Well, let me tell you, my sister lives in L.A. She's got 3 kids. She was surrounded by the fires, and she voted for Kevin Kiley and Rick Caruso. Okay, she voted both because she's just finally, because she's way more liberal, and we've never gotten along until recently, because I was always kind of a Paul Revere in the family. And this son's, all these policies are crazy. And she finally realized, you got to have people who are coherent and have a skill set, and not just all this platitudes of, virtue signaling and ridiculous confiscatory policies that are just driving the state down into unaffordability.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Paul in Van Nuys. Paul, hello.
Oh, thank you very much. Avid listener, occasional caller. I just, I've been all my life in California with the changes that have made, the people that have common sense that packed up and moved out of here and still doing it. So I believe that the New York City voter and the California voter interchangeable. Just don't have any confidence in it. I think that I just feel pessimistic. I hope that I'm wrong, but it doesn't feel like it. I just feel like the voters are that stupid. They're ideologues, and it's just I hope I'm wrong. That's all I can say.
Well, there certainly are trends that you typically see in politics, and Chicago, which is a very blue place, elected a socialist mayor. The Democrats in New York City selected a socialist candidate to be their nominee. It looks like the Democrats in Minneapolis are going to select a socialist to be their next mayor. And if that trend continues in California, then certainly they're not going to be looking for any kind of moderate.
Yeah, I agree. Sadly. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Sharon in San Leandros. Sharon, hello.
Yes, hello. First of all, I guess Willie Brown would know where her talents lie.
Whatever do you mean?
Yes. And I believe Steve Hilton has a pretty good chance if we have enough people that have 2 or 3 brain cells at work and can pay attention. I'm born and raised in this formerly, maybe not golden, but brighter state. And I've seen how in 67 years of life, how it's changed for the worse. So I pray that we can get somebody that has some decent common sense to rule. Govern, I should say, not rule.
All right. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Let's go to Patrick in Linwood. Patrick, hello.
Hey, John. Hey, Randy. If Willie says Kamala sucks, she sucks. I think that Rick Caruso would be much the same as Ron DeSantis in Florida. A real good executive, very pragmatic, take care of the infrastructure, take care of governing instead of caring about, esoteric issues that don't affect everybody's daily life. Hilton would be okay, but I don't think anybody's going to get past his accent. Caruso's got a D next to his name. Hopefully some sanity will reign, and he'll be the governor.
Well, a lot of people are thinking that he was going to run for mayor against Karen Bass, and then Willie Brown and others are speculating that he could run for governor statewide. It certainly looks like he's going to be running for something. That being said, whenever he speaks out on issues, he typically speaks out on city issues in Los Angeles, whether it be related to the fires or how fire victims are treated, things of that nature. I have very rarely seen him weigh in on statewide issues. For example, I haven't seen him weigh in on the state budget or the bullet train or any of those issues that are being debated on a regular basis in Sacramento. The one exception would be for Proposition 36, where he came out in favor of Prop 36 and wrote a check to the yes side, certainly campaigning on behalf of that initiative. But outside of that, he pretty much only weighs in on L.A. issues.
Well, it'd be refreshing to have a politician who stays in his lane and takes care of the business for what he's interested in and where he works and lives, instead of having a governor who's going to South Carolina and a mayor that's going to Ghana and this, that, and the other. If he changed gears and put his mind to state issues, I'm sure he'd have the correct opinion and correct solutions for the state.
Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to John in Thousand Oaks. John, hello.
No, he left.
All right, let's go to Dale in Long Beach. Dale, welcome.
Hello, everybody. John and Randy, all she has to do is get her name on the ballot and she will win. She got almost 10 million votes to be the president of the United States coming out of California.
Well, I think she would certainly be the heavy favorite. Whenever you spend $1 billion promoting yourself, everyone will know who you are. And particularly when you compare her to these other candidates, nobody knows who Tony Atkins is. No one knows who Tony Thurmond is. No one knows who Chad Bianco is or Steve Hilton. Those are relatively anonymous political figures. People who support them, people who live in their jurisdictions, in their districts or whatever, their counties, they may know who they are. But whenever you're talking about a statewide race, you're talking about a very big place. I mean, we're about the size of what, England or Japan? And trying to be well known in a place that is large as California is difficult. She already has that wrapped up. She already has that taken care of. So I agree with you in the sense that she would be a heavy favorite if she put her name on the ballot. That being said, you still have to go out and throw the ball, catch the ball, hit the ball if you're going to get elected.
Yeah, you would have to talk normal. That might be hard for her to do.
That's very true. Thank you for the call, Sarah. Let's go to Dave in Whittier. Dave, hello.
Yeah, she's not going to be able to hide like she did, and she's totally unqualified. She proves that with her nervous cackling when she's asked simple questions. So she's a rotten candidate if she runs. But then, in illustration, you have to display contrast. So the Republicans are going to have to get out there and really not be like Steve Hilton and Bianco. They must not become novelty items like the candidates have in the recent past, and they're losing. And they've got to raise money way ahead of time, 4 years ahead of time. And then, Katy Porter, she didn't look too bad on Prop 36, but I don't think we want a woman in a bat suit.
Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it.
No!
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown believes that Kamala Harris is uniquely qualified to lose the governor's race, and maybe she shouldn't run after all. What say you at 800-222-5222? If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Linda writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. I know it doesn't seem possible, but Kamala would fail the state worse than Newsom. I hope Rick Caruso runs. He's a private citizen, and his response to the SoCal wildfires has been so much better than our elected officials. He alone making a difference with that AI permit system. Lame duck Newsom is hot air. And if Kamala was smart, she would have stepped in and pushed on the wildfire response, helping get recovery going. But she, too, is a lame duck.
There you go. Pretty much laid out the case against her in one email.
She really did have a huge opportunity to, especially because those fires were so close to where she lives, to make a stand, do something about it, make sure recovery was going, and she was completely silent through the whole damn thing.
She went and did a tour and then disappeared.
Al writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com, listening from the Port of Oakland. I don't know, guys. I still see a lot of Harris Walls bumper stickers and yard signs. I think the angry white women are united. I'm sure Shaggy likes that, so let's hear it from our dirty streets darling.
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
Let's go to Doc in Petaluma. Doc, hello.
Yeah, John, this state is in such a mess right now with Newsom. You wouldn't figure there would be a candidate that would do any worse. But then you look at Harris and you say, my God, it turned into like Oakland all the way around. I couldn't even, anybody with sense in their head would never vote for a Democrat this time. We got to go, anything different. You got to go different,
I think you're right. I think that if we were to elect her to be governor, it would be worse than Newsom, the same way that electing Bass was worse than Garcetti, as hard as that was to imagine.
The woman has an IQ of 80 or so, maybe less. I don't think that she should hold any kind of public office. she should be actually in a nursing home. You know, I mean, she can't even make a cognitive statement when she says a speech. She just does word salad. You know, I mean, she would just take this place and just drop it another couple notches down, and we might as well, you know, open the state up to all the immigrants that are coming in illegally. You know, I mean, I can't. I lived here all my life, and you know, for the life of me, I can't see that she would even be a viable candidate. I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Johnny in Palos Verdes. Johnny, hello.
Yeah, hey, thanks, John. I feel human when I listen to your show, and you kind of guide me through life. This is my question. What skill levels does Caruso have that are better than Kamala?
Well, he's run a very successful business where you have to go through red tape. You have to go through the permitting process. You have to get land rezoned. You have to get the approval of planning commissions and city councils to build a mall. It takes a lot of maneuvering. It takes a lot of political skill and acumen to get all of these people who are predisposed to be hostile to you, because don't forget, so much of Southern California is no growth or slow growth, and they certainly don't want to give money or give land or give approval to big developers. So you have to go in there and you have to make the argument that your mall or your development will benefit the community, will increase the tax revenue base of the area, will employ people, will provide economic opportunity, will certainly provide a nice place to shop and people to spend time in your city where they have a positive experience. That's difficult to do. And he did that in the South Bay. He did that in Glendale. He's done that all over the place. So if you can take those skills and you can talk people who disagree with you into doing something that will benefit all of us, then that's good.
Yeah, well said. So please vote Democrat. And we have a voice on radio to help, you know, sway people's hearts and minds to do this. Okay? And I think that's the way it's going to have to be. Through these great shows that you put on, John, we will sway people's hearts and minds.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Ray in Utah. Ray, hello.
What fantasy world was that guy living in? Anyway, you remember the whole French Laundry deal with Newsom?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody remembers that. So the way that it was portrayed was they're hypocrites. Look at them. They're shutting us all down. We can't go out to dinner, and look what they're doing. Everybody missed the most insidious reality that example we got from Newsom proved, which was that if that virus was as deadly as they said it was, he wouldn't have been in that restaurant with his pals unmasked. He proved by his behavior that it was all a scam. So that's example number one. Number two is I just came in from Utah. So I came through Arizona, Utah, Nevada. Gas prices are $1.50 lower than they are here, and they've been that way for about the last 4 years. But yet the people in California continue to pay $1.50 a gallon more, which add that up over a year. And they do it blindly. They don't care. And, you know, the last and most important thing is look at everything that the Democrat Party touches. It turns to crap, whether it's homelessness, crime, you name it. And yet they still get voted into office en masse because the Republican Party in the state of California has abrogated its duty to take the fact that 20% of the electoral votes come from this state. And therefore, it is incredibly important to make sure that we at least fight for this state. They don't fight for it because they're not really Republicans and they don't really care about this state. They're sold out to whatever interests that are keeping these Democrats in office. And last but not least, and most importantly, it's the voters. The people of the state of California put these people in power over and over and over. And it doesn't matter that CAL FIRE does a study over 10 years.
All right, sir, I'm out of time. Up against a hard break, but we got your point. Thank you for the call.